Hello, everyone. I'm Ed Densel, and I host Unfound, and I run this YouTube channel. I realize you don't want to give a thumbs up to the following video until you watch it. You know what? That's totally understandable. I can appreciate that. But what you can do right now is subscribe to this channel. The button is right there. Thanks.
Kimberly Michelle Wilson-Talley was a 49-year-old from Youngstown, Ohio. She had 2 siblings and was a cancer survivor. During the course of January 2017, friends and family noticed they hadn't heard from Kimberly. An inspection of her apartment revealed Kimberly hadn't been there in a while. She was never seen again. I'm Ed Densel, and this is Unfound. A picture is worth 1,000 words. The origin of that saying comes from Henrik Ibsen in 1906. So says Wikipedia. To also quote that website, the saying means that many times complex or multiple ideas can often better be explained with one image than with a verbal description. For those of us who devote a lot of time to disappearances, this is surely true. Some examples. Stephen Kocher. The video of him in that Henderson subdivision outdoes anything that anyone could have ever told us. Dale Kerstetter. Would we believe he was taken hostage without that security camera? Brian Schaefer. Do I need to say more? However, the issue with missing persons cases is that the more video and pictures we get, the more questions we have, in a way undermining Henrik Ibsen's original idea. Well, with Kimberly Wilson-Talley, although nobody is sure when she went missing, there is a lot of evidence pointing to what happened. But does it all really come down to a snapshot? And now a summary of the case. This is brought to you by my friend Megan Linez's website, charleyproject.org. Kimberly Wilson-Talley was a private person. Even though she and her sister lived within minutes of each other, they didn't see each other that much, despite having a good relationship. Kimberly had been married, but her husband died around 2012, possibly causing her to be even more reclusive. Then in 2015, Kimberly was diagnosed with throat cancer, maybe pushing her even more to stay away from the public. However, Kimberly had a new man in her life, Delmar Daniels, who stuck with her through this tough time. But in late January 2017, a neighbor, a friend of Kimberly's, had not seen her in a while. She called Kimberly's family, who showed up that same day. Nothing seemed amiss, although Kimberly's phone was there, but her car wasn't. A call to Delmar was made. He said he and Kimberly were out and would be back shortly. They never arrived. Kimberly was never seen again. Over the next days and weeks, Kimberly's loved ones would discover that she had missed an important doctor's appointment concerning her cancer, that Delmar had blown a toll on the PA Turnpike with Kimberly's car, and that her car was found in the backyard of an acquaintance of Delmar. As all of you know who have been listening to Unfound for a while, we are all about education, learning as much as we can about missing persons cases, then passing that knowledge on to all of you. And, of course, many of you do studying on your own. For Kimberly's disappearance, you should be thinking about crime, isolation, and relationships as you try to answer these 3 questions while listening to the interview. Number 1. Was a message sent to Kimberly's sister on Facebook Messenger in late December 2016 from Kimberly or someone else? Number 2. Why would a boyfriend help a woman through a tough time in her life to then turn around and possibly cause her disappearance? And number 3. Could Kimberly's presence in the passenger seat of her own car be part of an elaborate example of luring? Kimberly's family absolutely believes Delmar Daniels has everything to do with her disappearance. The guest for this episode is Kimberly's sister, Keena Hardy. Unfound News. Today starts a new era for Unfound. Not only can you listen to the audio podcast on all of the usual platforms, but if you go to Unfound's channel on YouTube, you can watch, yes, watch, my interview with today's guest. You can also watch moi recording this episode. Check it out. Next, it's the end of the month, so that means what? Yes, another show with my favorite professor, Dr. Grace Telesco. Next Thursday, March 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern, she and I will be discussing the disappearance of Jesse Ross. It will be live on the Fischler College of Education and School of Criminal Justice channel on YouTube. Finally, and related to the new video version of Unfound, I will be retooling the Patreon and YouTube membership programs. One of the new items will be the ability to get the Friday episodes at least a day early. So please, think about becoming a member at either location.
Where you can find Unfound. Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, Podbean, and many other platforms, especially outside the United States. Unfound has social media accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, join me on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Unfound Podcast Channel for the live show, the only one of its kind in true crime. Ask questions, chat with other viewers, and give the show a thumbs up. You can contribute to Unfound in the following ways: patreon.com/Unfound Podcast, paypal.me/Unfound Podcast. Contribute during the live show with Super Chat, and join the YouTube membership program for the low price of $2.99 a month. I need to thank the following people for contributions to Unfound this week: MT and Sherry. The website, theunfoundpodcast.com, the email address, unfoundpodcast@gmail.com, and please mention Unfound at all true crime websites and forums. Thank you. I'm so happy to have on this episode of Unfound the sister of Kimberly Wilson-Talley, Keena Hardy. Keena, welcome to Unfound.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Very welcome. We're going to start as where we usually do with interviews with family members. Let's just talk about your family. Of course, Kimberly is your sister. Is she your older sister, younger sister? Any other siblings, family members? What was it like growing up with Kimberly and everybody else?
Kimberly is my older sister. It's 3 of us. Me, I'm the baby. I have a middle brother, and Kim was the oldest. Kim was always like the mother figure in the sibling group. Our mother was killed in 1991. So when she was murdered, you know, she stepped up more to be that mother figure. So it was always just the 3 of us.
Mm-hmm.
So she
what's the age difference between you and Kimberly?
She would have been 55 on February 22nd, and I'm 41.
Wow, so 14 years
Well,
older.
excuse me, I'm sorry. I'll be 41 in April.
Okay, so still about 14 years older she was than you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yes.
okay. Okay. All right. Well, that's maybe not so unusual. I have two brothers and a sister who are almost 20 years older than I am. So maybe that's
Yeah.
not so unusual, but that's interesting to me. Okay, so she was like the mother figure. If I may ask, what happened to your mother that she was murdered in 1991? Not to go deep into the details, but what happened?
She was murdered. I don't really know the details of what happened. I was only 10 years old when it happened, but she was cut from ear to ear, throat to throat. They slit her throat.
Was this person caught?
I don't know. Still to this day, I really do not know. And
Wow.
it's so much in my life history that I don't know a lot of information because I was so young when it happened. So I don't know if I was told and I just like blacked it out and tried not to really deal with it. But I said, I'm 41 years old now, or about to be 41. And it's like, do I really want to know the details of what really happened,
Right.
almost 30 some years ago?
So you don't know if this was, a boyfriend at the time or a random stranger. You have no idea.
No idea.
Wow.
No
Okay.
idea.
And no idea if anybody
As
ever went to jail or anything.
No, and as years went on and I was starting to get a little bit older, I was asking questions like what happened or was he caught? And nobody really knows the answer. I don't know if they just knew the answer and didn't want to tell me or they really don't know. So that's a mystery in itself.
Do you think that Kimberly knew? You two never talked about that. Obviously, she's 14 years older. She would have been well into her 20s when this happened. Do you think that she knew the details and just didn't want to tell you? Maybe.
She could have. She could have.
Wow.
Just to try to keep me safe. I don't think it was because like she didn't want me to know. I think it was just bringing up like past history and emotions and feelings that she just didn't want me to encounter because growing up I did have a rough childhood. So being that she stepped in to be the mother figure, it was always
Right.
just left in the back.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't. Let's not give your mother's name out here on the program because there may be some things going on there that we don't know about. But maybe afterwards, Keena, if you wanted to, give me your mother's name, maybe I can look into that. I'm not saying that you need to know or anything, but certainly would fill my curiosity to see what actually happened there. If you wanted to
Yes.
give me your mother's name after we're done here. Once again,
Absolutely.
totally up to you. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's very tragic, though, but it's good you had a sister like Kimberly who stepped up. Of course, she was into her 20s. Maybe she was equipped to do that at that age. So that's good of her to do that. Let's just talk about her. Obviously, you've already talked about her being a mother figure, but maybe tell the listeners a little bit about her personality, interests, hobbies. What do you remember her being into, music or whatever else? What can you say about her?
Of course, Kim, her personality was sweet. It was caring. If she could, she would give you the shirt off her back. She was a homebody, so she really didn't, go out a lot or leave her house a lot other than, going to the store and coming back home. She loved to read. I would watch her or see her like reading books from time to time. And she was just all about living life, taking one day at a time, taking steps by steps.
Yeah.
So
How long did you two live together, being that she was roughly 14 years older? Uh, did you two grew up together? How long did you two live together until maybe she went her way, you went her way? What was the
that
situation?
I really can't remember. I mean, like I said, I was 10 years old
Hmm.
when the situation happened. So I don't, it could have been maybe about 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And then who did if she ended up going off on her own, who was then taking care of you, when she went off on her own?
My stepdad and my
Oh,
stepmom.
you stepped down. Okay,
Hmm.
great. Wow. Okay. All right. So she would give the shirt off your back. Very kind. What kind of education did she have? What kind of work did she do as an adult?
She had various jobs. She had cashier jobs. She worked in factories off and on. So it was mainly like customer service, factory jobs, stuff like that. And it was always off and on. Like it was steady for a moment, until I don't know if she lost the job or she gave the job up, but it was always, factory and customer service.
Okay, so bouncing from job to job.
Mhm.
So it would not be strange to say maybe over, the course of her adult years from, let's just say 25 to 45, she might have 5 or 6 different jobs, let's say.
I don't think it was that many. Like the
Okay.
job that she was at, she would stay for some years or
Mhm.
less, the job didn't need her anymore. I don't know if it was like a temp agency that she was working for with the factories. I know that she was working at a local grocery store here in our town, and she was there for some years.
Okay. Any relationships? I've already been told, we talked about this already, but she had no children. But was she ever married? Any relationships? Of course, we'll talk about the guy that was with her at the time of her disappearance, but any other people in her life that she lived with, intimate partners?
She was married. Her husband passed away. Um, just
Wow.
some years back. I think he's been passed now. I'm trying to go back and think.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest is 15. So I think he passed maybe about 8, 9, maybe 10 years ago. I could be wrong. She did have stepchildren. The kids were her husband's biological kids, but of course, she took them in as her own. So she did have stepchildren. When he passed, the apartment that she was living in, it was under like HUD
Okay.
assistance.
Yeah.
So they made her move to where the Victories where she was staying because the bedroom didn't fit her guidelines at the time.
Okay.
So that's when she moved to the Victories.
Okay. And that's the last place she lived before she went missing?
Yes.
Okay. All right. How did he die? Disease or do you even know?
I
And
think it
how?
was more. I think it was more like natural causes. It was natural causes.
Okay.
He was older than her, of course.
Uh,
So
okay.
it was just natural causes.
Okay. How did she take that?
She was hurt. She definitely was. I remember at the time I was staying in Cleveland, Ohio at the time when he passed. But, I came down, I talked to her, she was distraught, just like, you know, any other family member would be when you lose someone. She dealt with it. I was there for her to deal with it and stuff. But eventually she, I'm not going to say she got over it. It started being easier to deal with over the years. And then
Yeah.
I don't know when she met this other person. I don't know the time frame of when she met him, but I don't know.
Okay. So her husband died approximately, let's just say 10 years ago. So let's just pick a year, 2012. As you know, it's hard, as those pains never go away, but time doesn't really heal all wounds, but she has to move on. We all have to move on with our lives. But, that's, of course, hurts. And she's living with this guy. When he dies, she has to move out. She gets this place, and this is the place that she was living at, where she went missing. And we're going to be talking about that place in a little bit. I don't have any kids, so I'm not one here to judge. But did she never want to have any kids? Did she ever try to have kids, or children just wasn't for her? What would you say?
Um, I don't I don't know if she was able to have kids. I don't know why she didn't really have her own.
Okay.
I don't think we really talked about that. If we did, it's a vague memory, a faint memory. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she would have loved to have her own kids. I mean, my kids, of course, were her life.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant with my oldest, I stayed with her and her husband, and they were the one that drove me to the hospital when I was in labor.
Wow.
With my oldest, and that was 20 years ago.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. So let's move on to some issues. Let's just start here. Of course, before this episode has come out, I've publicized it, made some posted some links to any stories or the Charley Project page on her disappearance, etc. And people probably quickly saw that at the time of her disappearance, that she was suffering from cancer. Do you remember when she was diagnosed? What year was this? If you can approximately say, how did she handle it? What kind of cancer was it? Let's just talk a little bit about that. Maybe just to get an idea of how she was dealing with it and what was the prognosis. What do you remember about that time when you found out that she had it?
Um, she was in the hospital, and I don't remember who called me, if I called her, if she called me, or the person she was dealing with at the time called me. But I went to the hospital to see her, and I said, Kim, what's wrong? And she was telling me like she was throwing up blood at the time, and I don't think she knew what it was. That's why she went to the hospital. And after she got there, I don't remember if they told her, like ran tests at that time and told her that it was cancer. But I mean, she was dealing with it. She didn't have any choice to deal with it. It was a part of life, and she was going to, fight it the best way that she could to be here for her loved ones. So it's a hard thing to deal with, but when you can't do anything about it, you have no choice but to deal with it. So she always, to me, the vibe that she gave me, she was always, I'm gonna fight it. I'm gonna fight it. I'm gonna beat it. I'm gonna do whatever I can to, stay healthy. And it came a point, I don't remember or know when, she had the trach put in, but she had to get a trach put in her throat. So I don't know how severe it was at that point. Like I said, this is my sister, and we didn't talk every day. We didn't see each other every day, but we both know if she needed me or vice versa, I was there.
Yeah.
So as far as how deep her prognosis was, I don't know. I really don't know.
All right, so she never
I mean,
said,
and
she never said, for example, that I have stage 2, and we should state it was throat cancer. I have stage 2 throat cancer. You don't remember her ever saying anything like
I
that?
don't remember her ever saying anything like that. I'm
Okay.
trying to get in touch with the doctor or even try to find out the doctor that she was seeing to see how far it was, but I don't know.
Does it?
And I feel like, of course, if she was still here, then it would have been a conversation that we would have had. But of course, she's missing. We still don't know where she is. We never. I feel like it would have got to that point to have that conversation, but because she's not here, we never made it to that point.
Do you think the cancer was a surprise to her? When I think of throat cancer, I automatically think, well, smoking is, they say is a cause. I suppose people can get cancer for all sorts of reasons, environmental or genetic. Was she a smoker? Do you think that might have been it, or was it just something genetic? What was it?
No, she was a smoker. Kim, she was a heavy smoker.
Okay.
So I mean, as far as it being a surprise, it could have been a surprise to her, but at the same time, she knew what the lifestyle that she was living and smoking. So that is a symptom, or not a symptom.
Could be a result. A result.
A result of cancer. So.
Sure. Okay.
And
so,
that's why I felt like she was willing to deal with the outcome because she was a smoker.
No, I guess no different than people who have maybe a higher chance of getting skin cancer going out into the sun, going to the beach, getting a tan or something. Same thing. You know the risks and you take them anyway. Sure.
Exactly.
What year was this approximately? You think that she was first diagnosed? I think maybe you told me in our prior interview. Could that have been 2015?
Hold on. We're in 2022. Okay. Yeah. She went missing in 2017. So maybe about 2015, 2016.
Okay. So maybe she was fighting this cancer for at least a year, somewhere around that. Okay.
Possibility. Yeah.
Okay. And once again, I realize you were not following her all the time. She's not your child. She's your sister. You have your life. She has her own life. How would you, in your opinion, when you would talk to her or see her, how do you think the treatment was going? Did it seem like it was going in a positive direction, or was it kind of like, I don't know?
it was definitely going in a positive direction.
Okay.
She never let this cancer bring her all the way to the bottom. She was willing to do whatever she needed to do to make sure that she was healthy, to make sure that she's going to the doctors, to make sure that, she was getting the right treatment. She wasn't the type of person, if anything was to affect her, like this is what's gonna take me out.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you for that. And that'll be something for the listeners to think about, regarding this disappearance and her state of mind or emotions around this time. Let's move on to this. Of course, he's going to be a big part of the conversation from now on. His name is Delmar Daniels. We can say his name. His name is out there. Any time you look up Kimberly's disappearance, any news stories or the Charley Project, wherever, you're going to see his name. He was the boyfriend at the time. Do you even know how the two met? Did you ever know of him before they started going out? What can you tell the listeners just in general about Delmar Daniels and him being with your sister Kimberly?
I never, I don't know how they met. Delmar, to me, when I went around, he was more like, he showed his good side, I should say. He showed his good side. Of course, my kids, they were younger at the time, and when the kids would go over there, they would play, go to the store, he would spend time with them and my sister as well. So I never seen a bad side of him, but you never know what goes behind closed doors. Now,
that's true.
Friends and neighbors that, seen her more than I did, of course, told me that she was afraid of him.
Okay.
But I don't know, once again, if she was trying to keep me out of the mix or the business, but when I went around, I never seen any of that. I always seen, like I said, the good side. So when this whole situation came about, I was shocked, like how, when, and why.
Yeah, we'll get into those details. But do you have any idea how they met? First of all, did they go to high school together? Way back in the day, or was this just
I don't.
running under? She was maybe working at the grocery store and he came in. Do you have any idea?
I don't. Like I said, I don't know how they met, but it could have been, a mutual friend, or it could have been, they seen each other around from time to time, and they just, started talking. But the details on how they really met, I'm not sure.
Okay. Would you say, once again, what you could tell, being that she got this cancer, and my understanding is they started going out, started being a couple before she got cancer. Would you say that, as far as you could tell, was he supportive of her through this very tough time?
For the most part.
Any ideas?
In the beginning, he was supportive, as far as I could tell. In the beginning, he was at the hospital when I first seen Kim in the hospital to know that she was sick. He would cook, she would cook. They would sit and watch TV, as far as I know.
Okay.
From things that I seen, but like I said before, you don't know what happens behind closed doors. You don't know, once everybody was gone, what was really happening. Maybe it was just a front. Maybe it was just a show. Let me show my good side, and then once everybody leaves, and I can show her who I really am. And she probably knew, who he really was, and at the same time, just didn't want to worry me, I should say.
Right. Okay. Good point. Okay. So they're a couple. They're living together. She has cancer. At least outwardly, it seems like he's supportive, but we don't know what was going on behind closed doors. So let me just, late 2016, and listeners should know, I think in talking to Keena, the couple times that I've spoken to her before we did this official interview, the actual date of Kimberly's disappearance is a little bit of a question mark. I know that you may go to the Charley Project or NAMUS and it'll say January 1st. We're not quite sure that is the actual day, and I think you're going to see that as we continue. So just keep that in mind, viewers and listeners. But I just have some questions for you regarding late 2016. How often would you say that you would talk to Kimberly? Once a day, twice a week? Even we might even include social media on there. How many times did you have communication with her on during the course of a week?
Um, Maybe about once a week, or it would go maybe once every 2 weeks, or a couple days out of a month. There was never really no pinpoint time of when we actually talked. But we did stay in contact. If she needed me, she'll call me. I was there. If I just wanted to call and say hi or stop by and check in, she knew that I was able to do that. So like I said, there's never really no pinpoint on how much we talked or how much we really seen each other, but we did stay in contact.
Okay.
We stayed in contact, definitely.
Now you should know though that both of you, we're not going to give up, where you live, but you both live in the Youngstown area.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
How far would you say you lived from her at the time of her disappearance?
Um, about 10-minute drive.
Okay,
About
pretty
10-minute
close
drive.
then. Okay,
Hmm.
pretty close. Okay. When was the last time you were in person with her? When was that?
A week before Thanksgiving in 2016. I stopped over just to check and see how she was doing. She was there, of course. He was there. I said, just coming to check in on you, just seeing how you was doing. Normal conversation. I said, what you cooking for Thanksgiving this year? She really didn't say anything. He says, Kim's not cooking anything for Thanksgiving this year. Once again, didn't think anything of it. It's two couples having a little argument or a disagreement. They'll work it out. And that's the last time I seen her face to face.
Okay. So that's the last time, like I said, a week before Thanksgiving. So let's just say approximately November 20th. What about anybody else? Once again, anybody who you trust. We would probably not put Delmar in that category. But anybody else who was the last person that you know who saw her before she went missing that you trust? When was the
Uh,
last actual sighting of her?
I mean, of course, my aunt would see her. She stayed in contact with my aunt. I don't know the last time that she seen her physically. Um, that's about it. I mean, the neighbors that stayed in the complex with her, they've seen her, but I don't know when the last time they actually laid eyes on her.
Okay. Now, I just have to clear a couple things up. Being that this is the end of the year, we know that, of course, Christmas rolls around, New Year's rolls around. Do you have any idea what she did for Christmas in 2016? Did she just stay at home? Did she and Delmar go maybe see somebody in his family? Did they go out? New Year's? Do you have any idea what she did for either of those dates, being that they are holidays?
I don't really know, but being that I know that my sister is a homebody, she stayed to herself. Most likely she probably stayed in, probably cooked herself a nice little small meal and just stayed to herself. And it wasn't because, she didn't have anywhere to go. It was Kim is a homebody. I would ask him or invite him to come over several times. Sometimes she would come, sometimes not. She just wanted to be at home. And if I would stop over, she was at home.
Even at
In
Christmas.
her house.
Once again, I'm not here to get to pry into your, family life, things that go on in families. But even for Christmas, there were no plans like for you and her to get together.
No.
Okay. All right. All right. So we have this late 2016. It sounds to me like she was out of touch with most people, as maybe especially the people who care about her the most. Maybe this is just because of her. Maybe she's a little self-conscious, getting this trach on her throat. That happens to people that have had all sorts of types of surgeries. Um, maybe it's because Delmar, is controlling her in some way. We could probably throw out a lot of different ideas. You've already said though she's a little bit of a homebody, and maybe that's it. But you
And
don't hear
it
from her.
definitely
Please,
I'm sorry, and it
please.
definitely could be a controlling issue because, like I
Sure.
said, neighbors and friends that seen her and him together all the time
Mhm.
told me after the fact that she went missing, Kim was afraid of Delmar. Kim is afraid of
Okay.
Delmar.
All
So
right.
it definitely probably
I
was a
believe
control.
you. Okay. All right. Very good. That's very, very possible. Being that we know she went missing, we'll get into these details. I think that's a very good choice. But so you go, not talking to her for a while, and we'll get into that message eventually that she sent you. if she was actually the person that sent it to you. But come late January, though, you've talked about these neighbors, or maybe one specific neighbor, a few times now. You get a call from one of the neighbors, and there was this, I guess it was late January. And what does this neighbor say?
She contacted me on Facebook Messenger, and she says, Kim, Keena, we haven't seen your sister in a while. We haven't seen Kim in a couple weeks. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like I said, the last time that I physically seen her was before Thanksgiving the year prior. So immediately, I think I called my aunt, and me and my aunt goes over to the complex together, and we're sitting there in front of the apartment, and nothing, no sign of Kim, no sign of her car, just nothing. My aunt, she called him, and he answered the phone and told us that he was on his way back from they were on their way back from Struthers because Kim wanted some chicken. Immediately, red flag. Immediately, I knew something was wrong. Just because of the condition that my sister was in, I knew that she wasn't able to eat solid foods.
Right. But he led you to believe that he was with Kimberly and they were headed back there and just to wait there.
Mm-hmm.
And you waited there, and what happened?
We waited. He never showed up. I believe she tried to call him again. He didn't answer the phone. I think at this point I said, let's call the police, because Struthers, from where she stayed in Struthers, is only maybe 15-20 minute drive. It doesn't take, I think we was out there for maybe an hour and a half. It doesn't take that long to get from Struthers. I said, call the police. Okay. So we called the police. They came out. At first, they were saying that they couldn't go in unless it was a medical condition. If I can remember, they couldn't go in her house to see if she was in there, because how did it go? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's maybe no probable cause. What do you want us to do? I mean, they said they're coming back from getting chicken. Maybe you even told them that. And you just want us to go into this house because they haven't showed up in the last hour. It's a little, I almost have to agree with the police, but maybe it was something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that, saying like it was, she's grown. We would have to have, she would have to have a medical condition for us to, do a well-being check. I believe that's what it was. And that's when I told one of the officers, I said, well, she has cancer. She has throat cancer. We don't know. At the time when my aunt spoke to Delmar, we don't know if she was with Delmar or if she was in the house. So we don't know if she's in there, deceased or passed out or fell or anything. So I'm like, she has cancer. This is a medical condition. I need you to go and see if my sister is okay. Yeah. Eventually, they were able to get into the house, and there was no signs of her.
Okay. So they got into the house to get like the landlord, or did somebody else have a key to get in there? How did you get into the house that evening?
It was an apartment complex, so it was like a maintenance worker on duty, like an emergency number.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know or remember how they got called or who called them, but eventually the maintenance worker was able to come out to open the door for the police.
Okay. Oh, great. All right, so that's good. It's pretty quick. You get over there, and maybe within an hour or two, you're inside of her place and looking around. Describe the inside of her place. Any signs, just to ask you point blank, any signs of violence, anything missing? What did you notice? My understanding is the police went in first, just to, make sure, you didn't, maybe, if there was a crime scene, they didn't want you to pollute it. But once you did get in there, of course, we know there was not necessarily any crime scene. But what did you see when you went in the apartment?
When I was finally able to go in, it was her back door. So when she walked in the back door, it was her kitchen. To the left was the bedroom and the bathroom. It was a 1-bedroom apartment. And straight ahead was the living area, like the living room. So I walk in, I think the light was on in the kitchen. And in the living room, the TV was on. The couch was up against the wall. Like the pillows of the couch was off. and she had a end table sitting right next to the table, like she was laying there taking a nap. Her glasses was on the table. I think a book was on the table. Like I said, the TV was on.
Huh.
I go to the back. Of course, it's just the bathroom and the bedroom. Now, I don't remember at this point, but the bed, I don't know if this was the same day, but the bed only had one side of the bed pulled back, like the covers, like only one person was sleeping there. So I don't know if it was her sleeping in the bed and vice versa. He was on the couch, or he was on the couch and, I mean, she was on the couch and he was in the bed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So those are some of the things you noticed. Being that the TV was on when you went in there, did you get the idea that it had been recently lived in, or did it seem to you maybe somebody hadn't been in that apartment for days, if not weeks? Any idea? Like maybe looking like in the refrigerator, looking in the food in the refrigerator, maybe you might be able to tell that way. What was your impression?
Well, I don't remember going in the refrigerator at all.
Okay.
But my impression, it was like somebody just left in a hurry. You know, like I said, if she was taking a nap or laying on the couch, you know, she jumped up, had to make a quick run to the store. It was just like somebody just left.
Okay, so it would have been perfectly believable that maybe just a couple hours before you showed up at the apartment, maybe she was there and Delmar was there, and they really did leave. There was nothing there that led you to believe, man, this place hasn't been lived in for 3 weeks.
No, nothing like that.
Okay. Was her phone there?
Yes, her phone was there. I don't remember, again, this was 5 years ago, so I don't remember if I seen the phone that day that the police was called, or if I found the phone or seen the phone days later. Okay. But her phone was definitely in the house.
It was eventually, somehow, of course, you were there, maybe trying to figure out, of course, Delmar and Kimberly never did show up, even though he said he was heading there, or he said they were heading there. They never did show up, and people were trying to call him. He's not answering after that first call. But you're there, and of course, you're only there for so long, and maybe at a later time you came back. But her phone, she went missing, but her phone was left behind. Did you see like her purse? Did she carry a purse? Did she carry any other things with her that you noticed also were in the apartment? Once again, something that you might notice maybe that the police wouldn't, being that you know your sister better.
I'm sorry. I didn't see her purse. She did carry a purse. I never found her purse still to this day. No ID, no wallet.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right, so listeners are just hearing this. I'm just hearing this for the first time. So her ID or purse still missing to this day in 2022.
Still missing.
Okay. All right, so the phone is there, but the purse and maybe anything that was in it are missing. Did you also tell me you eventually figured out that there was a TV? You said one TV was on, but another TV was missing?
Yeah, she had like a little flat screen TV on her dresser in her bedroom. You could tell TV was there because it had like the dust under a TV.
Yeah.
So I at first I didn't know anything about the TV because, like I said, I didn't really enter her bedroom. You know, when I would go and see her, it was always in the front part of the house. So when I looked at the dresser, I think someone else pointed it out to me that was with me. It was like, the TV's gone. I'm like, okay.
All right. Okay. So,
and
you've already, please, I'm sorry. Please.
I'm sorry. I'm still like in a lot of, you know, obviously I was in a lot of shock. I think some things that I should have been noticing, I was just overlooking because I'm just like, where's my sister? Like, I shouldn't be in her house without her. That's the only thing that's going through my head.
That's true. And that's
so I wasn't really trying to pinpoint or focus on a lot of other material stuff. I was just like,
what you're saying there, Keena, is very common. You know, people look back at a situation, you know, maybe even not just, you know, we're doing this interview on March 13th, 2022. So over 5, years after she went missing, but even just a week later, people will say, man, I wish, I'd been paying attention, but I was so caught up in the emotions. It's very very common.
Mhm.
So I hope you don't beat yourself up, too much regarding that. That's very common. But what were you thinking at that point? Obviously, you're in there, and she's not there. The TV's on. Delmar says he and she are going to be coming back in 15 minutes. They don't show up. Just at that point that you went in there, what are you thinking right at that second? Of course, there's a lot of other things you're going to find out, but right at that second, what are you thinking?
First of all, where's my sister? Um, Second of all, why are you lying? Coming back from Struthers because Kim wanted some chicken. So immediately I didn't think nothing like, oh, she's deceased or anything like that. It was just, I don't know, so many different things was running through my head. Like,
Yeah.
why would you tell us that you're coming back from Struthers because Kim wanted chicken? Like, we're not going to understand. Like, I'm a nurse's aide. I've been in the nursing field for 20 years. So I know about, tube fees and if you
Sure.
can't eat solid
You
foods
do.
because you have a hole in your throat. Like, I don't know if he thought that he was talking to someone dumb or, oh, if I tell her sister, we're coming back from Struthers, then she'll believe. No, no. So like I said, I wasn't thinking at the time that, she was, I don't want to say that she wasn't missing, that I wasn't thinking, because we knew that she was missing. I
Yeah.
just didn't want to think that she was deceased or somewhere held captive and against her will.
Yeah. And we have to remember, just to go through this maybe with the listeners and viewers again, that her car was missing. And we'll talk
Mhm.
about the car here eventually. But her car is missing. Her phone is there. Eventually discover that. But her purse is missing. And so it's at least conceivable, yeah, that they did go somewhere in her car and she just didn't take her phone. Maybe there it wasn't charged. Who knows? Maybe she forgot. So it's at least conceivable that they left to go somewhere in her car and, they just hadn't come back. But obviously, eventually figure out when they don't show up the rest of that day, why is he telling you this? And then
Mhm.
he by himself or she by herself doesn't even show up. Okay.
And on top of that, after I started, after, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but her winter coat was left behind. Still to
Okay.
this day, I have her winter
So
coat
you
in my
noticed that
basement.
too.
So
Very good. Okay.
how do you leave in the middle of winter, January, December, no coat, no phone, your car is gone, you're gone. Yeah, now I'm sorry, and then something happens to my sister.
Okay. So the police are there fairly quickly. I think it's great that you were able to get the police there right in the same day that you show up there. That's You should know. I got to tell you, Keena, that's very unusual. But I think that's really good on your part that you did that. They start their investigation. Maybe they ask you questions. You have to fill out all the paperwork and everything. Do they eventually track Delmar down somewhere? Where was he? Obviously, he didn't come back to the apartment. Do they track him down like the next day, a week later? Do you know if they spoke to him? What did he have to say about all this?
I don't think they tracked him down.
Hmm.
Well, I know they didn't track him down.
Okay.
He was ducking and dodging a lot of people after the
Okay.
fact. He was coming back to the apartment in between. I just don't know.
Mhm.
Well, I feel like he was coming when
All right. There's
everybody
no
was
proof of
asleep.
that, but you have a belief.
Yes, I have a
Okay.
belief that he was coming to the apartment when everyone was asleep in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Um, but as far as the police tracking him down, no.
Okay. All right. So, but you do get it on the record as quickly as you can. Of course, long span of time between the time we think that she went missing and you noticing this. I should ask you this: when you did eventually go over to her apartment, did you speak to that specific neighbor who called you? Could she give you any more information? Did she give the police or maybe it's a he, give the police information? Was this person ever to say, very solidly the last day he or she saw Kimberly in the apartment complex, or
Um,
was it just too long in the past for her to point out a date?
I mean, once again, I don't like, once the police was called and we was all out at the complex. I don't know if that neighbor was
Hmm.
there, if she showed up.
Okay.
I just don't remember. I don't remember if she spoke to the police, if the police questioned her about Kim and the disappearance and the whereabouts. I just don't know. I can't
That's fine.
remember.
Totally fine. All right, just a question. Let's move on to this. As we sometimes run into in disappearances, especially newer ones, we're talking about social media and phones, email. Many times we think maybe the missing person is already missing and somebody else is using that person's accounts to write things to try to make it seem like the person is still around and he or she isn't. In fact, we have had the disappearance of Eric Franks in Michigan, where somebody continued to portray him for at least 6 months after he went missing using his phone and his laptop computer. So we know all about that. But you got a message from Kimberly, something about she needed to talk to you. When did you get this message? Was this an unusual message coming from her? Had she ever done this before? Sent a message like this to you before? What did you think about that message when you got it? What date was it, and what did you think about it when you got it?
It was in December of 2016. I'm not sure the exact day. I do have it on my phone still, but she sent me a message. She says, "Hey, Key, K-E." That's the only person that calls me Key.
Okay.
I need to talk to you about something important in person. I said, okay. I believe I was working in the afternoon shift at the time, 3 to 11. And I was at work the day that I got this message, or just getting off work. But I said, okay, I'm off either Tuesday or Wednesday. You can stop by before 3. I'll stop by, or call me. She said, okay, if you don't hear from me by a day, it was a day that she had in that message.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to pull it up and read it word for word, but the day came, the day ended up coming. She didn't call, she didn't text, she didn't stop by. I didn't think nothing of it, maybe it slipped my mind, or it slipped her mind, or, she was running late, or maybe she changed her mind. Didn't think anything of it. A couple weeks later, then that's when I get the phone call that we haven't seen Kim in a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And immediately I went back to that message. I said, oh my gosh. She wanted to tell me something. She wanted to tell me something, or she was in a situation that she was trying to get out of. And for a long time, it ate at me. For years, it ate at me. Like, my sister was reaching out to me for help, and I was at work, and I wasn't there. So I don't know if, again, we don't know if it was him portraying to be her. I don't know if he was in the area or next to her where she, really couldn't say what she wanted to say, or if he was, holding her against her will and just, I don't know, scaring her. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't want to speculate. We don't want to speculate too much here, Keena, but I think what catches my ear in all of this, and I've read the message, of course, you sent it to me and I saw it, is that it seemed weird to me, once again, my perception. I did not know your sister, but that she wanted to talk to you in person, even though you admit yourself that she's kind of a homebody. What could this conversation have been? Why couldn't she just talk to you over the phone? I mean, no offense, but you didn't even get together for Christmas, and then she wants to talk to you about in person about something. It does seem like that it would not be in her character or her lifestyle to want to talk to you in person, something that could just be said over the phone or whatever. What do you think about that?
With that being said, okay, yeah, we talked over the phone. She could have told me whatever she wanted to tell me over the phone, or we seen each other in person. So maybe she wasn't able to talk to me over the phone because he was always around. Okay, so if I was to come around, or she was to come to me, then he's not gonna show his behind in front of me. You know what I'm saying? So maybe she felt safer if, I would talk to my sister, or we would get together in person and she'll tell me, something's going on. Then, the steps would have been taken at that point. We need to call the police. We need to get a restraining order. We need to do something, So it's not like we never, seen each other in person. We talked, we text, we seen each other in person. We didn't get together on holidays like most families will probably do. We were just one of those families that just did our own thing, but it was always, I can come to you if I need you, or vice versa. You can come to me if you need me. So the night that she sent me that message, like I said, I didn't think anything of it at the time. I mean, I just had seen her in November, which was a month before, and she seemed like everything was fine. So what could she have possibly wanted to talk to me about? And then, like I said, after I get the message or the details that we have seen her in weeks, I said, yeah, this is probably what she wanted to talk to me about, that she wanted to get away at the time.
All right, we just
didn't know how.
We don't want to speculate too much. But I think it maybe something that does ring true and all that is she wanted to talk to you in person because she wanted to be sure that it was going to be private. Maybe she didn't feel any other way she could have a conversation with you over the phone because Delmar was always there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to this. She had an oncology appointment some point at the beginning of January. How did you find out about this? How did you find out that she missed this appointment? Of course, oncology would have something to do, if those people don't know, with cancer treatment. But she missed this in early January. It's been put out there that this appointment was supposed to be January 1st, but January 1st in 2017 was a Sunday. That seems a little unusual to me. But how did you find out that she missed this appointment, whatever date it was?
Once again, my aunt, she was helping her with her treatment and taking her back and forth to her appointments. So I don't know if it came from her or I found a letter laying around her house and, this was the date of the appointment and it was missed. I don't remember how I actually found out that she missed an appointment. So, okay. I mean, it could have most likely came from my aunt.
Okay.
She probably mentioned, hey, Kim had an appointment that she missed. And I'm still trying to find, like I said, the doctor that she was seeing to.
Right. To find out what actually, because we don't know. Like I said, I think a lot of people are going to read about Kimberly's disappearance before this episode comes out and think, oh yeah, she had an appointment January 1st. But given that was a Sunday, that seems odd to me. I realize maybe they do dialysis and a lot of other things on Sundays because it needs to be done right at that second. I'm not so sure that for a cancer treatment that you can't put it off, till a regular day of the week. I may be wrong about that, but what we're saying is it might have been January 2nd, it could have been January 3rd, 4th, but sometime in early January she missed this appointment. Let's move on to this then. Eventually, though, you get somehow you get a letter. And of all places, it's from Pennsylvania. Why don't you talk about that now?
Yeah, so I was going back and forth to her apartment, checking the mail, getting the mail out the mail slide. And, just to see if I can notice anything out of the ordinary, in the area or whatever. But mainly I'm going to collect her mail. Eventually, my aunt advised me to forward her mail to my address, so I don't have to keep going out there because if he was selling the area, we didn't know his mindset. So a letter came in her name, of course, addressed to her, to my address. It was from the PA Turnpike. I opened it. It was mainly a letter saying that, hey, your car went through the toll without paying the toll. So I contacted the PA Turnpike. I don't know if it was that day, but I did contact them and I told them, hey, my sister, I'm calling on behalf of my sister. She's missing. I got this letter saying that her car was seen going through the toll without paying. I don't know how the conversation led up to a picture. I think because I told them that they were missing, so they were able to pull a video or a snapshot. Of course, it was a snapshot because it was a still picture. Mm-hmm. And I was explaining, I said, my sister has cancer. Who was driving the car? They said that it was a man driving the car and it was somebody on the passenger side, but they had a hood over their head. So, of course, it wasn't a live video to where there was any type of movement. I said, well, she has throat cancer. Can you see like a device in her neck area? They said that they can definitely see something that was in her neck area, but again, it was a still picture.
But whoever was in the passenger seat, presumably Kimberly, had a hood over her head.
Exactly.
And it was her car.
It was her car.
And it was, I understand it was a Chevy Cruze. Yes. And Delmar was driving.
Yes.
In Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Now the
important coming from Pennsylvania or going to Pennsylvania. Why was
Yeah.
he in Pennsylvania? We don't know.
Right. Now, unfortunately, now you had to, I mean, when you told this, now we should be clear. I haven't seen the picture. Keena, you haven't seen the picture, correct? It's only been described to you.
Yes.
Okay. So
And like
you've
I said,
never seen
on the paper, on the letter itself, I don't remember if it was an actual picture of the
Mhm.
car. I just can't remember that
Okay.
information.
Well, certainly if it was a picture of Delmar and your sister in her car, you would surely remember that. So we just know for sure that that picture was not in that envelope that you got, but it's from the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Now, unfortunately, though, maybe you've lost that letter or you're still looking for it. We don't know what date that picture was taken, do we?
No.
No, I'm sure that, like we talked about off camera, that I'm sure there are a couple different ways you can find that out, of course. But unfortunately, right at the time, do you think maybe you looked at the date and you've just forgotten it, or maybe you were so overwhelmed with emotion getting that, maybe that, the date hasn't, because surely, didn't stick with you, because surely the date was on there. In fact, I'm sure down to the minute and the second of
Mhm.
that day,
Yeah.
they went
I mean,
through.
I probably seen the date and just overlooked it. Of course, I didn't read the whole letter. I'm just skimming through it. But what really caught my attention is going through the turnpike without paying. Why would you go through the turnpike without paying it? And if it was, my sister driving, she definitely would have paid.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't her driving, why would you go through the turnpike without paying? What are you trying to hide? Is there something that you're hiding?
Man, once again, we don't want to do too much speculation here. All we know is it's Delmar driving. Once again, you haven't seen the picture, but the way it's been described to you, Delmar's driving the Chevy Cruze. Presumably, Kimberly's in the passenger seat with a hood over her head, and they're on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. And the reason this picture was taken is because they blew a toll. And when you do that, eventually, maybe going through the easy pass lane where you don't actually have an easy pass, the picture gets taken, so they can charge you whatever the fee is, and it's usually like $25 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's because I have an easy pass here in Florida. So this had to be startling to you. I'm guessing startling as much as anything else.
Yes.
Um, do you even remember what date that you got that letter? Obviously, it was after you already figured out she was missing. Do you think this was well into February of 2017? Do you think, or any ideas?
No, it could have been maybe towards the end of January,
Okay.
probably going into February, but I don't think it was February.
Okay.
I don't recall it being February.
Okay. All right. So then this wouldn't have been too long after you figured out that she was missing. This wasn't too long after the neighbor called you and said, "Hey, I haven't seen Kimberly in a while." So this all kind of, all came together kind of maybe within a couple weeks, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so something's going on there. There's a reason she's not driving. The hood over her head. It's very, very strange. Okay, so, but that does lead us to this car, her car. Of course, when you showed up there in late January, her car was not there, but we have this picture of her car. Delmar's driving. Of course, she's missing, and I'm wondering if the police had like a be on the lookout for her car. Her car was eventually found. Where was it?
The car was found on the south side in a backyard. I don't know if it was in the backyard of someone's house or a wooded area. That I don't know. The car was sold to an unknown person on the street for $1,000. In order for the car to be sold, someone would have had to sign the title. So my sister's name was forged on a title, and the title was notarized. So all the steps was taken to get this car sold. So eventually it was sold. The car, it did have an OnStar system in the vehicle. Yet again, I don't remember how OnStar came about, but somehow it either was already activated or it got activated, and that's how the car was located through OnStar.
All right, wow, that's interesting. I think that's a first for Unfound, where they actually use one of those car network systems to track down a car that's part of a missing persons case. I think that's a first for us. But so it's tracked down, and it was sold for $1,000. I'm guessing that the Chevy Cruze was worth a little more than $1,000.
Absolutely. I
All
believe it
right.
was a 2013.
All right. So certainly. And your understanding is it was Del Mar who sold this car to this person.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Any idea? You bring up the notary issue. What kind of notary is going to notarize something? The person can't guarantee the person who's signing it is actually you said it was forged. What kind of notary would do that? What ever looked into that? What is that?
My question is exactly why. I mean, obviously, I don't know, but
Hmm.
it had to be. I don't think it was nobody professional.
Well,
Professional notary.
generally, I guess what I'm saying is generally a notary has to be licensed or something,
Exactly.
and every you get the little stamp and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So you're thinking, it seems, if being that we do know that Delmar sold this to this person, it seems like some notary was tracked down who did something underhanded. Right? Okay.
Hmm.
All right. All right. So it's sold. It's the car is found. Do you remember when that was? Was this also around the time that you got this letter from the PA Turnpike? Do you remember that whole timeline in there at all?
Um, I think the vehicle was found after I received the letter.
Hmm.
Yeah, the
Okay.
vehicle was found after I received the letter.
Okay. So everything's kind of falling into line. Unfortunately, it seems in a bad way, in a bad
Hmm.
direction here. The apartment's empty. He says he's coming over. He doesn't. You get this letter from the PA Turnpike. It shows him driving her car, and she's presumably in the passenger seat with a hood on. And then after that, you find out the car, yeah, it's somewhere. It's back there in Ohio, but it's in somebody's backyard, and the title was forged, and Delmar sold this car to this person. Was this person a friend of Delmar's? Do you think how that happened? Any insight into that?
It's a possibility that it was a friend of his.
Okay. All right. Now, you also told me that somehow you found this out. Maybe you want to explain how you found this out. But at first, he tried to sell it to a dealership, a local, official car dealership, and they wouldn't take it. How did you find that out? Do you remember?
I think it was in a news article, a write-up about my sister.
Hmm.
It could have been another way. And like I said, it's
Hmm.
just like a lot of my memory is like fogged out. So a lot of details on everything. But he did originally try to sell the vehicle to Darnell Ford, but he didn't have the title. Somehow he was able to gain the title or locate the title. And that's when it underhanded went
Yeah.
through so many different hands to get the car actually sold.
Okay. Right. And the dealership, no reputable dealership, especially a big one like an actual real Ford dealership. Maybe you get some, shady used car places, but any official car dealership that sells new cars, Ford, Mercedes, whatever else, yeah, if they smell anything shady regarding a car sale, well, I got this title and, it just doesn't seem right. They won't take it. So maybe that's what
Mhm.
happened. That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, once the car was found, any forensics done on it? Anything that you heard about it? Anything damaged in it? I'll just have to say, I'll just ask. Any blood in it? Anything done with the car at all? What happened to that car?
The car was towed, but when it was towed, I don't recall it being towed to the police station or the police department. It was towed to a local tow yard. So I was confused if I was just confused if this vehicle belongs to someone that is missing and someone else is being seen driving the car, why wouldn't it be towed to the police station? But then again, I don't know. It could have been towed to the police station and then towed to a local tow yard. I don't know. But when I seen the car was perfectly fine. It wasn't damaged. It wasn't. It was clean. It was
Okay.
clean.
Okay. What happened to the car? Where is it now?
It's put up. It's put up in my granddad's garage.
All right. So you have it.
Yeah, we
You
do
have the
have
car. Okay.
we do
All right.
have the
So,
car.
okay. Would you say it was in decent condition when you got it back? Abused in any way? You know, I don't know, seats ripped up, stuff taken out, anything notable at all? No? Okay.
Perfectly good condition.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just try to talk as much as we can about the guy we've talked about so much for the last hour, and that is Delmar. What has he said about this? What has he done with his life since early 2017? Have the police talked to him about Kimberly, being that there is this picture of him in the car with her and the hood over her head? What is going on with all of that? What do you know now in March of 2022 about what he's had to say about any of this?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He has been under the radar since this has happened.
Mhm.
I think he was seen by several different people after, the situation with my sister going missing. I haven't seen him. I haven't been able to talk to him. Nothing. He was incarcerated in a different county. I want to say maybe about 2 years ago. The detective that's working on my sister's case was able to go down and try to question him, but he refused to talk.
Okay.
And obviously he was released because he was incarcerated on different charges. Nothing in relation to the disappearance of my sister.
Did you tell me he was in jail due to drugs?
Yes, it was a
That's
drug
what.
charge.
Okay. Has he even admitted anything regarding the car itself? Actually selling it, trying to sell it, driving it with her in it? Any talk about maybe not even her disappearance, but the car, even doing what he obviously did with the car? Even talk anything about that?
Not from my knowledge. Like I said, when the
Mhm.
detective was able to go to the other jail where he was located in a different county, he refused to talk. So I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't even think they got to the part of the conversation that mentioned anything about the car. I believe that as soon as he mentioned my sister's name and you're a suspect or um you're a person wanted for questioning, he probably just shut it down right then and there.
Okay. All right. Now, maybe we did miss something that goes back to the apartment itself. I know that one time, of course, you showed up, and we've talked about Delmar. He's not talking. But going back to the apartment, I think this is interesting. Let the listeners hear about this. You get there that first time, it's locked up. You go in, you notice some things are there, some things are missing. But you went back a second time, and the second time you said you went back, all the windows were open and it had a bleach smell. How long was it between that first time and that second time? Did you notice anything like being a big difference between that first and second time? Obviously, maybe the second time you're around, maybe emotions aren't as high. What did you think that second time when you showed up and the windows are open, etc.?
Um, what did I think? Why are the windows open? Why is January? Why are the windows,
Yeah.
like I said, why are the windows open? It did smell like cleaning supplies, like someone was just in there cleaning. But Kim didn't keep a nasty house. Her house was, I'm not gonna say spectacular, but it didn't need to be cleaned if wasn't nobody there. So what are you cleaning? I mean, they already said there was no foul play of anything. There was no signs of forced entry. There was no signs of blood or trauma. There was no signs of anything. So why was the apartment smelling like cleaning supplies?
Let me ask you this: when you went back that second time, and of course it was in this condition, was a lot of her stuff still there? Were clothes still there? Towels still there? Food still in the refrigerator? Did it look like maybe somebody tried, like a landlord, let's just say, went in there and just, well, if this person's gone, I gotta clean this place up because I gotta get somebody else in here. Or let's just, once again, we don't like to theorize too much, but is it on the other hand possible that, like you said, maybe Delmar was going back there when nobody else was around, and he was the one that did all that? What do do we even know? Could the landlord have done this? Delmar done this? Obviously, you didn't do this.
I didn't do it. I don't know if Delmar done it. He hasn't
Mm-hmm.
been around for anybody to
Right.
question him or ask him about anything. We don't know if the landlord done it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it was just overlooked, but it was weird that the windows are open and we don't know who opened the windows or why the windows were open.
I agree. All right. So yeah, you show up the first time. It looks like the place has been just lived in like any other apartment. You get there the second time. Her stuff is still in there, but all the windows are open in January. I mean, how cold is that in Ohio? So with the smell, could you even tell, being that you had this bleach smell, could you even tell what was cleaned? Everything or just a particular area? I mean, that smell, of course, we all know it smells like a swimming pool. Could you even tell what was ever cleaned?
No.
Okay. All right. How tough has this been for you, Keena? Obviously, it's been over 5 years. You have you have this picture, which I have to admit, after 240 some disappearances, this picture, although you don't have it, you haven't seen it, but I'm going to trust the Department of Transportation in Pennsylvania that picture shows what they say it shows. You have this picture, Del Mar, the two together. Obviously, she went missing right around this same time. How tough is it to live with, something like this? That you have this
I mean,
picture. It's
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 very
kind of
tough.
obvious. How tough?
Yeah, it's very tough. I mean, every day I wake up, come down my stairs, and I see her, like her furniture. I was the one that cleaned out her apartment. I had to clean out all her belongings, everything, and the furniture is right here in my living room, right in front of me. So it's definitely hard. I try day by day just to, go on with my life and raise my family and, still deal with not the issue, but the case about my sister disappearing. You know what I'm saying? It's been, of course, 5 years. Recently, about, what was it, 2 weeks ago, or she would have been 55 on the 22nd of February. I did have a balloon release for her at my house. A lot of friends and family showed up. They were very supportive, but it's hard not being able to celebrate it with your loved one.
Yeah.
You're celebrating her life without her.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you celebrate when you have no justice? You have no answers. So, I mean, I try to keep her memory alive. I try to keep the world informed of who Kimberly is, Kimberly was, and we want closure. We want justice. We want answers, so we can go ahead and live our lives normal and not have to worry about when this person or persons will be caught for the disappearance. We just don't know.
Of course, Del Mar, my impression of finding out about this disappearance, reading about it, is that Del Mar's name has been mentioned since just about the beginning. Of course, people knew that the two were a couple. Eventually, people hear about this picture, about them living together, about the sale of the car. These are things that are out there in the public. Has anybody who knows him or knew him ever come forward to you, being that you're out there? That's why we're talking. That people he might have known in Pennsylvania, if he was taking Kimberly to Pennsylvania, did he know people over there? Did he know an area over there? Did he go over to that area to a totally different state? Anybody ever been able to tell you, he has connections in Pennsylvania, and that might have been where he and Kimberly went?
No, but I mean, I do know that he is from the Warren Lewisburg area. So as far as Pennsylvania, I don't know anything about Pennsylvania. I mean, he might have family up there. I know my sister doesn't.
Yeah, right.
If that's the case, I would have knew about family in Pennsylvania.
Of course.
So he's definitely from the Warren, Lewisburg area. Columbus, I know he has family in Columbus. Right after my sister did go missing, he had an aunt that stayed in the same city as myself and my sister. And after she went missing, she was moved out of that apartment straight to Columbus. I don't know how long it was after she went missing, but she was definitely moved.
Okay. So no connections of Delmar with Pennsylvania that are obvious. You know, if we're to think
We just
something,
don't know. Like he's
yeah,
like a snake in the ground at this point. Like he like I said, he showed his good side when he needed to show his good side, but he's that snake to where he just slithered and slided into different paths of his life, and now he's still ducking and dodging the authorities. You know, you're ducking and dodging the family. You know, I feel like if he didn't have anything to do with anything about my sister, the car, the apartment, the bank card, her itself, come and talk to us.
yeah,
Help us find her. You're not doing any of that.
right,
You know, when the police was called initially the first time, I didn't see him come out into the complex, but I was told, you know, days later that he was seen. He came inside the complex. He seen the commotion with the police and everybody out there, and you left right back out. If you didn't have anything to do with my sister's disappearance, why are you running? Why do you still have her car and she's not with you? You know, if something happened, you know, or an accident, let us know so we can, you know, like I said, we can start our healing process and go on with our lives. It's 5 years. Like I said before, 5 years is too long. A year and a couple of days is too long. Like
right.
how much, I don't know, how much can you actually, you know, deal with and bear with before you get answers?
Yeah. Okay. Keena, do you have a website, Facebook page, anything like that set up for Kimberly's disappearance? Anything that of course, you just had this balloon release, but anything like that, if you have anything like that to talk about, you can do so right now.
No, I don't have a Facebook page for her set up. She has a Facebook page. Of course, you know, friends and family attack her on Facebook posts or messages, or when it's her birthday, you know, we wish her happy birthday, happy heavenly birthday. We just, you know, we still try to keep her page active. I mean, it's something that I should probably look into and make a page,
Yeah,
you know,
I think
memorial
it's a good
page for
idea.
her.
Yes,
Um,
right.
yeah, that's about it. We just try to
Okay.
keep her memory alive.
Okay. I would certainly think about making a Facebook page. I know it can be a little work, and you never know who's going to get on there. And I know, I can say like new Facebook pages, it seems, for disappearances, at least initially get a lot of trolls, but you kind of just have to work through that, unfortunately,
Mhm.
sometimes. But certainly, you should consider that. I know it's a little more work for you and everything, given, whatever else you're doing in your life, but I think that it would certainly be worth it. Just a suggestion. So,
Yeah.
okay. Keena, any final words before we complete this interview?
Um, no, other than if you're watching or listening, and if you know or seen this person responsible for the disappearance of my sister, speak up. Speak up. It's been 5 years and we have nothing.
Okay. Keena, thank you for being on this episode of Unfound.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And that was my March 13th, 2022 interview with Keena Hardy, sister of Kimberly Wilson-Talley. I thank her for joining me and all of you on this episode. Keena had Kimberly's neighbor call me. This would be the woman who first alerted Kimberly's family that she had not seen Kimberly in quite some time. Unfortunately, she could not add much to what was already stated in the episode. She didn't see anything suspicious at Kimberly's apartment. She didn't see Delmar cleaning anything up or carrying anything out. Nothing like that. However, she did relay a conversation that she had with Kimberly at some point, and the topic was Niagara Falls. That Kimberly and Delmar had talked about going there on a vacation. Why is this noteworthy? One way you could go from Youngstown to Buffalo, New York, which is essentially where the falls are, is by way of the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Yes, it's a bit longer, true enough, but it's not crazy out of the way. Moreover, if Kimberly had never been to New York, since she wasn't driving, I'm not sure she would have known the quickest way anyway. Delmar could have driven almost in any east or north direction, and I'm not sure it would have made a difference. And given she had something over her head, Delmar could have been driving anywhere in any direction, and she wouldn't have known. Of course, maybe at that point in the car, Kimberly wasn't alive anyway. But I'm not getting into that. That will be up for all of you to decide. For me, my mind is more on what was Delmar's plan. After all the episodes we've done, we know how people who are suspects in disappearances like these tend to stick to their territories. Zoe Campos, found in Carlos Rodriguez's backyard. Andrea Bowman, found in Dennis Bowman's backyard. Tyler North, found not too far from the park where he met his ex-wife. So, what was Delmar doing? Where was he going? Because nobody seems to think he had any connections to Pennsylvania. Too bad we don't have any more snapshots. I'll leave the theorizing up to you.
And that's the program. If you found it informative, please go to the app that you use to listen to Unfound and give this podcast a nice review. I thank you for listening. I'm Ed Densel, and you've been listening to Unfound.